Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rimon Jewish College Fair. It's very, very exciting to see you all here, to have such an awesome panel and such an awesome program prepared for today. Just a little bit about Rimon. Rimon is a new international student-led Jewish movement that is all about reimagining Israel education on campus. We have a bunch of initiatives. We do a bunch of stuff that definitely we can tell you more later if you want to hear more about it. But today is all about college and how it is to be a Jewish college student these days on the campus. And so we'll get right away to the panel. Basically, how the event is going to go, we're going to have a panel now with some Jewish student leaders, and then it's going to be like an actual college fair. You'll see tables for every organization and every colleges. And if you're a high school student, a parent, a principal of a high school, like just go to any table you're interested to hear more about. We have awesome Jewish student leaders joining us from campuses across the country. So it's very exciting. And now I'm going to give the mic to Jordana to lead the panel.
Hi, so happy everyone could be here today. So we're just going to start off by introducing our panelists. So we're going to go around and I'm just going to ask each of you, can you tell us a bit about you and your involvement on campus? Aiden, let's start with you.
Sure. So first of all, super happy to be here. Thank you to Jordana and Ellie for inviting me and putting this together. My name is Aiden Golub. I'm a would-be sophomore at Harvard from Westchester, New York. I'm planning on studying electrical engineering or applied math. We'll have to see how that goes. On campus, I'm the director of an organization called the Israel Summit, which works with college campuses all over the world to engage people with the state of Israel. I'm also involved in a lot of other Jewish groups and theater on campus.
Awesome. Danielle?
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle. This is kind of wild for me because I'm seeing a lot of people from lots of different parts of my life. So this is fantastic. I'm Danielle. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from White Plains, New York, which is also in Westchester. I am a would-be junior at Binghamton University, majoring in psychology and minoring in Judaic studies and health and wellness studies. Planning to go to nursing school after Binghamton. On campus, I'm involved in basically everything. I like to joke that I have a very much a yes attitude to everything. I'm involved in the Chabad, the Hillel. We have a JLIC on our campus that I am very close with. I'm also involved in a bunch of different Yavna on campus. So that's how I know this organization. I'm also involved in work in a research lab on campus. So I do have a bunch of other things on campus involved, not necessarily in the Jewish community, but I'm also very involved in the Jewish community.
Awesome. Allie?
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited that Ellie invited us to speak right now. I'm excited to meet all of you guys later on. I'm a junior at Washington University in St. Louis, and I'm also president of our WashU Students for Israel, which is an apolitical cultural organization on campus. I've also had involvement with Hillel and Chabad on campus. I'm also in a sorority, as well as I work in a research lab. So also involved in a bunch of stuff, but excited to meet all of you.
Very awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, Rotem.
Hi, everyone. I'm also really excited to be here. I go to Florida State University. I'm about to be a junior. Much like Danielle and Ali, I'm also very involved on campus. I'm currently the vice president of NOLPAC, which is FSU's cadre of APAC. So we kind of do a bunch of lobbying and stuff on behalf of, the pro-Israel U.S. relationship. I'm also involved in Knowles for Israel. I served as the external affairs officer this past year, which is also a very cultural club. I'm also in student government, as well as Chabad, and I'm involved kind of all around. I'm excited to get to know everyone and give you as much information as you need about how to be a Jewish student on campus.
Awesome. Thank you. So these next few questions I'm going to ask are actually questions we got from high school students and parents from our registration form. So the first one is, can you continue to be a part of Jewish life activities and programs while being committed to other interests and activities on campus? So I know some of you have had multiple things that you do that aren't just Jewish. So if anyone just wants to jump in and take that one.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think that it's perfect. I see no issue with being able to do both. I think it even strengthens my Jewish involvement when I know that I'm involved in other things on campus. We're able to collaborate with different organizations. For example, I work with the Food Recovery Network, where we bring the leftover food from our campus dining halls and bring them to different food shelters in the area. And so I bring my Jewish friends with me sometimes, and we've been trying to partner with them in different capacities. So I think that it even enhances the way that I see my larger Binghamton community and my Jewish community when I am involved in both. And I think at Binghamton, and I'm sure everywhere else, that it's the best thing you can do is to seek out all of the opportunities that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. Oh, Rotem, you can go.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, I think it's not only possible, I think it's super imperative to be involved in both. I mean, I went to a Jewish day school my whole life, so surrounded by the Jewish community. You know, I went to Jewish summer camp. I did all of that. And I think the reason that I took a year off from Harvard is I mean, the thing that I got most out of school was being surrounded by other types of people, being involved in other types of groups. It's super exciting. I'm involved in a lot of theater groups. I'm involved in a lot of engineering groups and different math societies and that kind of stuff. You have to make active choices. I mean, it doesn't come naturally. You have to choose to be a part of the Jewish community and really choose to, invest and be strategic about it. But I would say if you can really be thoughtful about it going in, you're going to really broaden your horizons, and they're not mutually exclusive. It's not even close to mutually.
Yeah, also just to kind of build off that, I think that it's very important to kind of just not focus yourself so specifically on the pro-Israel Jewish life kind of environment. It's your college experience after all, and you want to kind of go, you want to join, all these different organizations and meet people with similar interests as you, because that's how you make friends. I'm also involved in student government, and through student government, I've been able to do so much for the Jewish community, and that's not necessarily a Jewish organization. So it's very important to branch out and kind of get to know what you like, what you don't like, join all the clubs and drop all of them after. It doesn't matter. It's your
Yeah, and I was just going to add on to that I think that something that's really cool about most of the Hillel and Chabad activities, and then also with the pro-Israel organizations on WashU's campus, is that they're really, really chill. There's no direct commitment that you need to make a certain number of hours of events per week or anything like that. It's really come and go. So you just come when you're free. You participate, you make some friends, and then you leave. You could come back the next week, you could come back in a month, and it just doesn't matter. And everyone's always there with welcoming arms. So I think whatever your commitment level is totally okay. So just knowing that has also been really nice.
Well, that's actually a great transition into our next question. So someone else asked, how do students balance workload, parties, social cliques while simultaneously keeping their Jewish pride? Anyone want to go for it?
I can go. I mean, I feel like it kind of does tie into what I was just saying, and I feel like with anything in college, you're going to be joining clubs, you're going to be taking classes, you have to choose the number of credit hours you want to be in for your classes. Maybe you'll have more of a workload, maybe you'll have less of a workload, but like anything else, it's just a matter of balance. So I think that it's not hard as long as you're not overcommitting to one aspect of your life, whether it's taking too many credits or joining too many clubs or, being too involved in one club rather than another. I think it's all about balance. So you just want to make sure that, and it's really easy to do so as long as okay, I want to go to Hillel for dinner on Friday night, and I want to go to WashU Students for Israel's event on Monday, and then I also have a social event with my Greek organization on Saturday. And I think it's really easy as long as you kind of keep track of your schedule and know what you're involved in. It's not hard.
Yeah, I would say just to build off that and kind of what Aiden was saying, it really is a question of values and who you want to be and the kind of person that you want to define yourself as. I'm very proudly Jewish on my campus, and I think that I'm very lucky that is the case. And I think that when you make certain things a priority, for example, I like to go to daily services every morning, and that's the way I like to frame my day, with starting with the Jewish organization, just as a way to frame my day. And so when you make that active choice to decide how you want to frame your day, your week, your entire college experience, and that can change from semester to semester. I know, at least for me, I've been involved more in certain clubs and organizations and sometimes not. Sometimes I'm more involved in Hillel, more involved in Chabad, and it really doesn't matter, thankfully. And that's the beauty of it. But also the fact that can change every semester is a good thing, and it's healthy to be able to try to figure things out for yourself, and not be so zoned in. Oh yeah, I have to be the Chabad president by the time I graduate. It's not if that's something that you want to do, great. But at the end of the day, really trying to reevaluate every semester what your credit hours look like, what your social life looks like. It really changes, at least for me, every semester, and that's okay and beautiful, and that every semester brings new challenges and experiences. But that, again, like Ali and everyone else have been saying, that balance is crucial, and that as long as you know who you want to be and what you want to be involved in, that comes pretty naturally.
Yeah, and I think it's also very important that you should follow your own happiness, like whatever makes you happy. Like if you realize that you're constantly stressed out because like you feel like you have to be the superhero of like the Jewish community, like take a step back, do what you like to do, and if you're not happy, then don't do it. What's great about Florida State also is that we have such an active Jewish community on campus that someone will always be there for you. Someone will always be there attending the student government meeting. Someone will always be there, so you don't have to do it all. You have to, kind of trust the.
Yeah, and it really does depend on where you go to school and what the environment is. I mean, for me, I kind of had like a red, yellow, green light system in terms of what I, really wanted to hold myself to every week. Like every week I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Shabbat dinner every single Friday. And what I would do is I would go like, go to Chabad, maybe a few glasses of wine. And then after an hour, I like go to a party or go to another event or a concert or whatever's happening. But like, I really like made it clear to be a priority. There are other things where I was like, oh, if I can go to this Hillel trivia night or whatever, a study session, sure, I'll go, but it's not as important to me. And I think my purposefulness and really coming in with a plan and understanding what was important to me or what I wanted to explore or try out. And going back to what Danielle said, that's kind of the good thing about college, and that you can really push boundaries and see what you're comfortable with and do things that maybe you wouldn't have had the opportunity to do before, living in your parents' home in high school.
Yeah, so something a rabbi actually told me was that you'll never have as much free time as you do in college. And I think just like kind of what everyone here was really just saying so nicely was that it's what's important to you. And like if you put in the effort to like attend Jewish events and other things, that are important to you, you'll really have the most amazing experience in college. But now just to shift kind of to a little different topic. So we hear about a rise of anti-Semitic incidents happening on college campuses. Is it becoming dangerous for Jewish students to attend college? How would you recommend students continually walk around with Jewish pride surrounded by all of the hate?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in first, and I'm not going to speculate on the other schools here, but Harvard is a very, very liberal college campus, and what that means is like, and you would think, you go to Harvard and these kids are going to be like super smart and super nuanced and like thoughtful and whatever, but I was in a room my freshman year of hundreds of kids standing up and screaming at the top of their lungs, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and we will wipe the state of Israel off the face of the earth. And you want to talk about the blurred line between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, the leaders of this event, and it was an organization that wasn't a BDS group, but at their kickoff event, they had the founders of the BDS movement come and be their keynote speakers. So you can decide for yourself what kind of group it was. They said that it is not a conflict between Palestinians and Palestinians and Israelis, rather a conflict between Jews and the rest of the world. And you're sitting there like, what is happening? Like, how is this possible on such a college campus where it's supposed to be some like the smartest kids anywhere? And it's very hard. And there are a lot of times that it's challenging. I think the thing that concerns me the most is not the kids who are like anti-Israel, because wherever you go, there's going to be a group that like is, anti-Zionist, whatever. It's the general apathy that you see on college campus. I mean, not the 10% of kids who are anti, but the 80% of kids who kind of don't know any better. And for them, Israel just becomes violence and deserts and apartheid week and kind of what they hear on Facebook. And so it is very challenging, and it's very important for Jewish students to stand up and, be vocal on college campus. That being said, and even with all these like crazy things that I talked about, it's very easy to be a Jew on campus. I mean, I walk around and I have a, Jewish star on my necklace, and I've never really felt uncomfortable. And listen, there's apartheid weeks. There are things that happen. But you just got to be proud of who you are. You don't need to be the super Jew. You don't need to be the kid who's like involved in all the fights and everything like that. I still think it's easy to be very proud. I would never say that it's dangerous to be a Jewish student. But listen, I mean, our people have been persecuted for thousands of years, and being a Jew comes with certain responsibilities, for better or for worse. And especially on college campus, it's something that's very important to be cognizant of.
And then I guess to jump in the beginning of the year, like I wore an IDF sweater. It's like a funny story. I wore an IDF sweater to one of my classes, and my friend was like, "What are you wearing?" And I was like, "Oh, like," because back home I grew up in such a close-knit Jewish community that it was never an issue. And then, I come here and then all of a sudden it's like, what are you wearing? How are you so, proudly wearing that? And it's very like, I think it's kind of your demeanor too. If you, present yourself in a very confident manner, then people will kind of, I guess the word, if they'll understand that they're not going to go and mess with you in a way. I've never been scared to be a Jew on my college campus. I can't speak for other college campuses, but I think that, with your work in the Jewish community and your activeness, I also go a lot to Chabad and Hillel, and those people don't judge as intensely as other groups. And we've had some issues over the summer, obviously with our student government president. I don't know if you guys have heard, but towards the end of the year, after JSU became a student government agency and our student government had adopted the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, she was also wearing proudly her Magen David in a sweater. And it was like such a nice thing to see because everything can change in a year.
Ali or Danielle, do you want to say anything or should I move on to the next question?
I can speak briefly. So WashU is a little bit of a different situation just because we actually don't have an active anti-Israel, anti-Judaism, really anything, which we're very, very fortunate. We do have a very strong Jewish population, and it's a large Jewish population, so that might be why people aren't as outspoken because they know there are so many Jews. I'm not sure, but I think the advice that I would give to anyone, regardless of if you're going to a campus with a massive BDS movement or a campus like mine where there is none, I think what's most important is if you're involved with Judaism on campus or pro-Israel stuff on campus, if you get involved, whether it's just going to Hillel for Friday night dinner or going to the pro-Israel rallies and all of that, that will be your community and those will be your people who can give you support if you ever do run into issues. And so I think obviously you're all here to learn about Jewish life on campus. You obviously care, you obviously want to get involved. So I would say definitely do get involved because if you do ever run into any issues, you have this massive support system that you've created over your time going to Hillel or Chabad or the pro-Israel movement stuff. And I think once you have that strong Jewish community, you should not have to worry about being targeted or singled out or anything because they know that, you have these people in your corner. And that's what's so beautiful about the colleges here that all have these active Jewish and pro-Israel movements.
Wow, yeah, that was a really nice answer. Danielle, were you saying something? Or
I was just going to say that was very well said. I'm not going to pop that one.
I think that's a good high note to end that question off with. I know it can be scary, but everyone's kind of said, being Jewish on campus is so awesome. And you hear these big things because news always blows things up. So even when things do happen on my campus, we read about it in a local paper where it didn't really happen like that. It's not that bad. Being Jewish on campus is still the most amazing thing about my college experience. So we're going to move to the next question. So Jews, I'm sure in this chat now and just in general on your campus, they come from all different spectrums and everyone relates to Judaism in a different way. So someone asked, if I'm not really a practicing Jew, why is it important for me to participate in Jewish life on my campus?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. And if you can go into a philosophical lens of why it's important to be a Jew, but I loved college. I loved my freshman year. It was the best year of my entire life, but it's really hard. And I have a lot of friends that had a really tough freshman year and they transferred schools or they were just really unhappy or whatever. And I think what was very special about the Jewish community for me, it was a really easy and natural place to form a lot of connections and just feel comfortable and meet a group of like-minded individuals. And even if you're not a super religious practicing Jew, it doesn't matter. I mean, we have a Hillel that does kosher meals for every single meal, and you go to Shabbat dinners and they do just fun events, and it's a very welcoming space. It's a very open space. And I think especially when you first kind of start your college journey, it was a very natural way for me to meet people, and whether they were practicing or not practicing, no one really cares. I also think it's just a nice time to be okay, I would never, normally go to a service on a Saturday morning. Maybe I'm going to try going to a service on a Saturday morning or go to a Torah studying session. I mean, you have an opportunity to explore these things in a way that will never be as easy as you ever will ever again in your entire life. So why would you give that up, especially when you're kind of going in and beginning to explore your college self and college world?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump off of that because I was involved in a leadership seminar situation freshman year called the Emerging Leaders Program, and we talked a lot about leadership and all these different things. And one of the things that I would try to explain to these non-Jews about, I can't be around for like this day to this day because of the holidays. Explaining holidays to non-Jews is really fun sometimes. Anyway, but one of the things that I mentioned to them was this idea that I basically had a community going in on day 0. No matter what I was involved in, and a lot of my friends in that specific community were really struggling with trying to find their place on campus, trying to find that group of friends, community, whatever it was, they still were having that sense of like timidity between like, who am I and what kind of community I want to be a part of. And that was something that was really hard on top of being a freshman and trying to figure out college and classes. And so for me to be able to know that no matter what night of the week, I had an event to go to, a group of people to hang out with, free food most of the time, any night of the week, was just so relieving for my freshman experience. I brought my roommate to things, or the kids down the hall would come with us. And so it really created this sense of community and purpose to my freshman year from day Z, literally second I walked onto campus. So I think that regardless of where you're at religiously, having that sense of community, especially freshman year, was like a game changer. And I think that, like Aiden said, no matter what level of religiosity, any organization that's Jewishly connected on campus would love to have you, and really wants you to be there and values you and your opinion and who you are. And so not being afraid of diving into that, even with the limited knowledge or background, is something that's super awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar, but I'll just add on. I think if you frame it as community rather than like religious group or something like that, I think it would really benefit those who maybe aren't as religious. Personally, I'm not as religious, but I did, like Danielle said, try to go to a service, or like Eden said, try to go to a Torah study thing. And I would go with my roommates more to meet people than anything else. And obviously it was great to be part of the service, but as someone who doesn't go to a service every day, it wasn't necessary for me to be there. But I liked being there because of that community. And I think it's the same thing when you look at a Hillel or you look at a Chabad or those kind of organizations. I know that our Hillel, and I'm sure a lot of other Hillels and Chabads, like Danielle said, they would welcome you with open arms, even if you weren't Jewish. So I know that we have a lot of, it is free food, which is a great perk for any college student. And I know that a lot of the Jews on campus maybe have a non-Jewish roommate who they bring to Hillel for Shabbat dinner, and they're welcomed with open arms. Maybe they go on their phone at the table. It's okay, whatever, So obviously every organization handles situations like that differently. But my point is that like, you're not going to be judged for anything whatsoever. And there are all these different types of people, all these different types of Jews and non-Jews. And they're all just looking for that community on campus. So like Danielle said, I think framing it as a community will really help perspective on participating in things like that if you're nervous.
Yeah, and then I also kind of, just to build off of that, I think that it's a whole culture. During college, it's important to kind of break out of that bubble that you've constantly found yourself in and branch out and get to know others and their experiences. And so I always encourage other people to do that as well. And, something that I've noticed, at least at Florida State, is that even if when the Jewish community was seeing such intense struggles and, we were trying to become that agency, some of our greatest allies in student government were not necessarily Jewish people. Some of them were, but the others, kind of came to our events. They came to Chabad, they came to Hillel. They wanted to learn more so that they could see why we feel so passionately about doing certain things. And I think that that's so important if you're not a Jew, to kind of get involved and, get to know people and their experience.
Yeah, especially something I found, building off of a previous point, being involved in non-Jewish activities. I would just go to random events on my campus, and you always meet a Jew there. You're Jewish, I'm Jewish. You notice they're wearing a star, a chamsa, and then you bring them to an event, and they're oh my gosh, this is so fun. So even if you don't find that Jewish person to originally bring you to one of these events, everyone once you get there is so nice and welcoming. It's just always a great time. Okay, so it's gonna be for everyone. What is your favorite moment as a Jewish student on campus? Tough one. I'm sure you guys have lots of them.
I literally, like, off the top of my head, when JSU was turned into a protected student government agency in the spring, it was such an accomplishment, and it like showed me how powerful our Jewish community is. It made me feel so safe on campus, and like just to see how everyone came together, it was like almost like a family. It was insane. At student government meetings, like literally for an hour, everyone would be coming and like talking on how important this is to them, and it was just truly like it was such a beautiful thing to see.
For us, I would say that we have kind of like on a more just like fun note, we do something called the Israel Festival, which other campuses might also do. Essentially, we turn one of our big like swamp areas into the Shuk from Jerusalem. And so we set up a bunch of stalls, and every like Jewish organization or any organization connected to Israel can have like a booth, and we hand out free food. And it's probably one of the biggest events that happens on WashU's campus. And my organization is the one that hosts it. Last time we did it, we had like 800 students come. And it was insane because I was obviously a little bit concerned about such a public display of Jewish pride and pro-Israel pride. And I was a little concerned, what was going to happen, and nothing happened. And everyone from all different backgrounds was coming and enjoying falafel and asking questions and kind of saying, what is this? What is the Shuk? What is Jerusalem? And it was amazing to be part of such a pro-Israel, like massive event on campus with music and food and just everyone celebrating Israel. It was really something like so incredible to be a part of.
Yeah, I can go. And I'm going to plug my own organization here. I apologize. But this past February, the Israel Summit did this massive virtual summit, which was so fun and so exciting. We had over 500 schools there. We got 2.5 million views on our content. So it was like super cool, super amazing event. It was really amazing to see people come together. We heard from like Chief Medical Officer of Moderna and the President of Sudan, like former Prime Minister of Canada, CEOs of all these really cool companies, Waze, Kindbar, Google Israel. So it was a really amazing event. And I know I talked earlier, and I was kind of the downer in the group about the Israel sentiment on campus. I'll acknowledge it. But that being said, I think it was just like such a really inspiring moment to see like all these kids come together, both non-Jewish students who had never engaged with Israel before, who were like just super open and super interested. And then the Jewish students who like often, are afraid to speak up, or it's hard to kind of, be engaged and be that person, but everyone just came out in such a celebratory.
I'm having a very hard time picking one, but I think that I'll speak to two. One was specifically right after the shooting in Pittsburgh. We had a community Havdalah event where the president of both the Hillel and the Chabad came together, and we did Havdalah together as an entire community on the quad, which was something that was really powerful, and particularly in our community where we're trying to create a very a more cohesive, unified community. And so it was really a moment of like coming together no matter what part of the community you were involved in. Because of this tragedy, we came together. Unfortunately, out of tragedy, we had to come together, but it was a really powerful moment, at least for me, to be able to look around the quad and see people from all different parts of the Jewish community coming together. And on a little bit more of an exciting note, every Hanukkah, we do a Hanukkah parade throughout downtown Binghamton. We get a police escort. They get these car toppers with menorahs on them. We call it the menorah parade. And we did it, I guess, 2 years ago at this point. That was like a highlight, super fun, different. We blast music. We like get everyone on the same channel so they can blast the same type of music. And that's just like a really fun moment of like, let's go parade around Binghamton, which is like not necessarily a Jewish community at all, but like, let's take one day to just like celebrate this holiday together as a community. And yeah, it's just a really fun event. But yeah, super hard to choose one.
Yeah, being Jewish on campus is really just such an amazing experience. So we're going to ask one more question, and then Ellie's going to explain how the breakout rooms are going to kind of work for the fair. So you could then go to like any college you want to like specifically hear about, like kosher or like whatever other concerns for campus specific questions. And we also have some really amazing partner organizations here who work with like Jewish students on campus. So whether it's going to Israel or being more involved with Jewish life, there's some great booths you should check out for that as well. So we're just going to end with, can you guys each offer one piece of advice for these high school students as they're kind of making their decision of where to go to school?
I'll go first. Try everything. Saying yes to going to one event doesn't commit you to being involved in something for the rest of your college experience. But I think that sometimes the most meaningful experiences for me have been those ones that I wasn't necessarily so comfortable at first going to, where I said yes on a whim. And I think that saying yes to experiences that, like we've been saying, you really are going to be able to have this type of opportunity to have so much free time and so much liberty to choose and define who you want to be, and try things out in such a safe environment, that trying everything is not is a good thing, but obviously also taking care of your own mental health and knowing where your boundaries are and getting enough sleep and eating and all that things, because I think that COVID has already told all of us that self-care and mental health is super important. And so I think balancing that, like, willingness to try anything with recognizing where you're at is my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, and I would say for those of you who are like seniors or already committed or parents of seniors, get excited. Every campus is incredible. There's Jewish students on every campus, and they love being Jewish and they love Israel, and you're going to find your people no matter what. And then for those who maybe are still looking at schools or trying to visit schools in the upcoming year, if you do visit schools, I would recommend trying to go to a Shabbat dinner or an event on campus. You can ask the admissions office if they know of any Jewish organizations having events the week that you're visiting, or if you're visiting on a weekend, do a Shabbat dinner, because it's something that I really tried to do when I visited, and I visited a lot of the schools that are here, and I got a sense of like what the Jewish community was like at those schools. And obviously things change year to year, but I think it's good to know. It's good to see where you feel most comfortable and what the vibe is and how you feel. And, you know, I met people at schools that I didn't end up going to that I am still connected to on my visits, just because we sat together at like a Shabbat dinner at Hillel on that campus. And everyone is going to be so excited to talk to you. So definitely try and like go to an event, and it will also give you a sense of what the campus is like in a little bit less of a formal way than like a classic college tour might. So definitely try and go to something while you're visiting.
I guess like my advice would just be, it sounds kind of cliche, but literally just be yourself. You don't want friends who don't support you. And if you feel like you have to downplay your personality or your level of connection to your Judaism or your pro-Israel passion, then you're in the wrong friend group. As simple as that. Take advantage of how easy your first semester classes is. And like Danielle said, like literally be a yes person, say yes to everything within reason. And I can't say it enough, but your college experience is going to shape you so much as an adult. You don't want to look back and regret anything. You want to be as active as you can and have so much fun and go everywhere and do everything and meet everyone.
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice, and yes, you know, mental health and being yourself are all very important. You should listen to that more than what I'm about to say. But my biggest piece of advice in terms of what I wish I knew going into college is you need to get bed risers. And my mom said this, and I thought she was so stupid. But if you don't know, it's these things that you put under your bed that lift it up. And I had a really small dorm, and I got all of this extra space under my bed to put stuff. It was a game changer for like my clothes and everything. So you need to get a bed riser, even if you think it's stupid. And then my piece of you know, more serious advice. I mean, if you're a senior, it's May 1st, so hopefully you know where you're going. College is really, really fun. I mean, like it's so amazing, and you guys, you know, it's gonna be a great experience. Israel stuff is difficult sometimes. It's annoying sometimes. It's frustrating sometimes. But like, you know, I still would be super excited. If you're younger and you don't know where you're going, I wouldn't minimize the impact of the Jewish community. Like I would make it one of your criteria in terms of looking for schools. Like I you know, a lot of kids who went to Solomon Schechter with me, they were like, oh, I went to a day school my whole life. Like whatever, I'll find Jews anywhere. And there were some people that had a harder time like finding a really strong Jewish community, and it's just such a valuable safety net. So that's my last piece of advice in terms of what I would keep in mind. But the bed risers, that one thing to take away from this, you got to.
Wow, this was truly awesome. Thank you so much to all our panelists. Aiden, thank you so much for that last piece of advice. Definitely a very good one. So now how it's gonna work is we're gonna do it exactly as if it was a fair, except that it's gonna be virtual. So in a minute, you'll see tables from every Jewish organization on campus and all the colleges. So I'm asking all the students representing their school and like the people representing the organization, like to right away join the table for your organization. If you don't see one for your organization or school, just write into the chat and I'll create one right away. There's also going to be a table called Rimon and other colleges. So if there's a school you're interested to learn more about and a student leader is not there to represent the school right now, let us know and we'll make sure to connect you with someone. Sadly, between technologies and the exams and also with what happened in Israel a few days ago, many of the student leaders are actually attending the funerals right now. So we have a few student leaders that could not make it, but we can definitely connect you with them. What else was I going to say? Yeah, you'll see we have the best of the best Jewish student leaders joining us today and the best Jewish organization joining us today. So even if there's schools that you've never heard about, I really recommend for you to join those tables and just ask questions. Hear one piece of advice because you never know what they're going to tell you that may change completely what you're thinking of college. So I highly recommend to just try to go to as many tables as possible. So I'll open now the table. Let's hope it works. Let's see. It's loading. 1 second.